Hi, I'm Sam Brown and I've come to the awesome Meadowlands fishery today to show you how I fish down the margins. Meadowlands is home to some huge carp that love to feed down the edge, so I'm going to show you exactly how I tackle them and a few tips and tricks to get you some extra bites and those extra fish in your net. First of all, I'm going to talk about the ground baits I'm using today. Now, I love the Marukyu ground bait and the whole Marukyu range, and I've settled on a margin mix that's caught me thousands of pounds of fish this year. It's the Marukyu 161, which is quite a high fish meal mix, mixed with half of the pellet scrunch and then a little bit of the krill powder, because I love the krill powder, and ever since it's come out it's took venues apart. And it's absolutely dead easy to mix as well. So I'm going to use one whole bag of the 161, half a bag of the pellet scrunch. Doing this as well makes these EFG ground baits go a bit further. And then just a little bit of this krill powder. So the first thing I'm going to do before I add any water is mix the whole thing together. You get like this darkened yellow colour. So this mix takes a lot of water, and it's probably going to take 20 minutes, half an hour for the whole thing to soak in, because there's a lot of big bits in the 161, which makes it such an excellent margin mix as well. So already I need to add even more water. You're best to kind of over wet it at first, and then, as I say, let it soak in for 20 minutes, half an hour. Another great thing about these EFG ground baits as well, you don't need to riddle them, because there are big lumps in there and the big bits of food, they break down to like nothing. So there's no need to riddle any of these ground baits, which saves time on the bank as well. Right, so I'm going to leave that for half an hour now I've over wetted it, and get some other bits out of the way. So while the ground bait's preparing and soaking in all that excess water, I'm going to go talk about some of the hook baits I'm going to be using today and some of the bits I'm going to feed. So one of my favourites to feed over ground bait, and it probably is a lot of people's favourites, is dead red maggots. But I'm a massive fan of flavours, and Marukyu have got a real big extensive range of different flavours. So one of the newer ones is this Boost Juice bloodworm flavour, which I love a red additive, and this is bright red, and it absolutely stinks as well, but it's brilliant on maggots, really strong smelling. So I've done these the night before. I've covered these when they were alive, then I've froze them with the juice on it, and I'm going to add a little bit more. Don't have to go mad, but it's a real like bright red colour. It's really sticky and gets in there on the maggots. It's not that nice on your hands, but but that gives off a massive scent trail. And I'm such a huge fan of flavours, mainly because like, if everyone else is using exactly the same bait, what advantage have you got at a fishery like this where everyone else is going to be putting maggots down the edge? So that just, for me, it's got to help. It's not going to hinder, and fish love it. So onto some other hook baits I'm going to be using, which is luncheon meat. I'm just going to put this through a 6mm cutter. This 6mm cutter that I've got, it's a really old one, and it actually gives you a few 8mm cubes in the last one, which are brilliant hook baits to feed over the top. And again, I'll be adding a generous glug of this, because I know they absolutely love it, and the results I've had have been phenomenal. Don't need too much, but again, it's going to be on the fingers again, but it turns out a real pinkish colour. And when everyone else's meat that they're fishing is boring old, like grey or whatever it is, this really stands out. So if you imagine, we've got the ground bait with a few cubes of that over it, it looks brilliant. So we're about ready to start fishing. Let's go give it a try. Right, so onto my setup and my rigs that I'm going to be using today. So first of all, it's a power light top kit, really strong top kits from Maver. You won't break these things. I've had carp over 25 pound on them. Elastic wise, we've got the 14 to 17 Maver dual core hollow, which is brilliant edge fishing elastic. Doesn't stretch that far and it powers up really quick. So for the fishing here, that are going to be some of them over 10 pound, maybe a lot more, it's going to be brilliant for getting them in quite quick. Onto the line, it's the Maver's new MVR line. It's absolutely awesome stuff, very abrasion resistant as well. So we've got 0.20 to a 0.18 hook length. On the float, we've got a Maver MVR Series 4. These are lovely little floats for fishing like across in shallow water or maybe down the edge. I think they're really nice floats. Onto the, what it takes is a 0.2, so it actually only takes 3 number 8s, but I find you only really need a really heavy float down the edge when there's loads of fish down there. Because if you fish a short enough hook length, it's a 4-inch hook length, you'll get away with a slightly lighter float and maybe catch some of them really wary carp that you just end up getting liners and they eat all your bait and swim out your peg. So let's go catch some fish. Right, so I'm just going to start the swim off now. What I'm going to do is put a big clump of dead maggots in, and there's probably about 150 dead maggots in there, and then fill it up with ground bait. One big pot off. Let's see how long it takes for them to come over it. I know they love it, so it won't be long. In a match, I'd probably start the swim off, probably putting 2 or 3 pots in, just with the ground bait, with just a clump of them maggots. But as for pleasure fishing, I think we'll catch a lot just on that. Right, then let's get a rig over there. So I've caught a few massive carp on the dead red maggots, but there's a few perch moved in, and one of the ways I've found in avoiding the perch but still catching these huge carp is to put one of these JPZs on. JPZs are nothing new from Marukyu. They're actually a jelly, like a jellified pellet really, it's like a soft rubbery thing. But no perch is going to be interested in that, but whereas a massive carp is going to suck that right up. So hopefully that will get through the perch and catch some real big fish. So to keep bites coming today, the best thing to do has been to put a few cubes of this meat in and then fill it up with this Marukyu mix. And then with either a cube of meat on the hook, an 8mm JPZ, or a bunch of maggots. I've been catching some huge fish, but this just looks perfect on the bottom. Just imagine that. And then nail your hook bait right in the middle. Right, I've just come into the end of the session now, and I hope you've learned a bit about margin fishing, catching some massive carp at the awesome Meadowlands fishery. And it's just a few of the ones I've had today. Some huge fish. Yeah, you've learned a bit about rigs, tactics, baits, exactly what you need to do to catch more fish down the edge. If you do want me to do any more videos on anything, let me know in the comments below on a tactic you want to improve. Thanks to Meadowlands Fishery again, and see you next time.